with that in mind, let's jump into the Word with God, or the Word with God, or a word with our friend Steve. I forgot how to talk today. I'm sorry.
The Word of God.
The Word of God with Pastor Steve Pinto.
There you go.
Yo, what up, my people?
What up?
How you doing?
We continue to talk about
I'm
the
fine, thank
nature
you.
of the church in the countercultural manner.
All right.
Now, we've learned so far that the church are the called out ones. We have learned that although Christians have their own television networks, movies, websites, apps, newspapers, magazines, concerts, jewelry, sports drinks, and even underwear, that cannot be the defining factor of who the church is.
Sports drinks.
That is correct.
What Christian has sports drinks?
We already talked about this in show number 1.
We did?
Yeah, you can go back and listen to it on iTunes.
We'll allow you to do that.
Or the Counterculture Show.
How do you do that? How do you go and get our first show?
Funny that you mentioned that, because there's several ways. You can go on to thecountercultureshow.blogspot.com and click on the audio, or there's a video link to YouTube. You could check us, or you can look us up on YouTube, The Counterculture Show, and you can see episode 1, segments 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh.
Or you can go on to iTunes and search us up on a podcast, The Counterculture Show, and download the podcast.
Well, that's exactly what we've been talking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what you need to do.
Yes, I'll do that.
To summarize it, what we've been learning is this.
Summarize it.
Jesus' intention in building the church was not to create a subculture with their own merchandise, but a counterculture with their own Messiah. And so we've learned that the early church, although they didn't have their own clothing line in the latest worship CD, there were people described as turning the world upside down. Our theme verse has been Acts chapter 17, verse 6, where he says, "These who have turned the world upside down have come here too." And so we've been looking at the evaluation of the church of Ephesus to learn some things about how the church can be countercultural. First, we learned that the word is central to the nature of the church.
The word.
Secondly, we learned that the warranty of Jesus is central to the church.
Warranty.
And thirdly, we learned that the witness of Jesus is central to the nature of the church.
Can I get a witness?
Come on,
Oh,
somebody.
yeah, we having church ain't go nowhere.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And today we pick it up just where we left off
Where did we
last week in Revelation chapter 2. And today we pick it up in verse 2. And today we're going to learn that the effort of the believers is central to the nature of the church.
The effort of the believers is essential to the church.
The effort of the believers is central to the nature of the church.
Central to the nature of the church.
And so we pick it up in Revelation chapter 2, verse 2. This is the evaluation of the church of Ephesus. Okay. And there it says this. The first part of the verse says, "I know your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance." I know your deeds. I know your hard work and your perseverance.
Let's stop right there.
Yes, let's stop right there. So Jesus, in his evaluation of the church, says, I know. And that shouldn't be any news to any of us, because Jesus is God. He knows everything.
That's right.
The word to know in the original Greek means to understand or to perceive or to be skilled at.
Ooh.
Just think about that. Jesus has skills. He's skilled at knowing your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance. He knows. Jesus knows the affairs of the church. He knows the affairs of the ministers. He knows the affairs of the ministries. He knows the affairs of all the congregants, or the lay people, or the parishioners.
Yes.
Jesus knows.
He knows my name.
He knows my name.
He knows my name.
Ricky, this is where you save us and you actually sing right and make us look better.
Well, number 1, I don't know that song. Number 2, I'm being ministered to. And number 3, it's quite entertaining.
You know what? That's cool. Unbelievable. You know, that's an app right there. I know. And it should be linked to God. I know. iPad, iMessenger, iPhone.
I know.
I know.
So, in other words, Jesus has your app.
Oh,
he knows everything about you.
Look at that. Write that down.
Yes, write it down.
Write it down. Someone type it up and
so-
send us to the comment section at the blog stuff.
Right there.
Right there, please.
So Jesus evaluates this idea of service. He says, I know your deeds. He says, I know your hard work and I know your perseverance. Let me talk about those three things. Can I do that?
Please.
Can you say that one more time quickly?
Deeds,
Deeds,
hard work,
hard work,
perseverance.
perseverance.
So Jesus says, I know the deeds of the church. That's the word ergon in Greek.
Ergon.
Can you say that? Ergon.
Erran.
And it speaks of a deed or an action, a task, I need your help here.
A compilation.
Accompaniment.
A comp USA. Computer.
That one. An official activity.
Oh.
So
It starts with the letter C? With the letter C?
Occupation. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, why don't you say that?
Well, that doesn't start with the letter C. Occupation?
That's O.
Yes.
That's
You
not
s-
letter C.
I know, but you-
Occupation.
But you were saying he was saying comp.
Well,
No, he said
I defined it for you.
Achman.
Oh,
Achman.
After saying
Oh.
ergon, I couldn't
the
say
problem.
occupation.
There, yeah.
Ach.
That's like a, say that like 5 times fast.
Ergon, occupation. Ergon, occupation.
occupation.
So deeds means ergon. Ergon means an occupation, a deed, an action, or a task.
Got it.
Oh, you're speaking Muslim to us right now.
Not Arabic, but Muslim.
Now, don't get this confused. When Jesus says, I know your deeds, when he's saying that, he's not talking about a concept of.
You okay,
You
Pastor
okay?
Eddie?
You okay, Pastor Ricky, Henry?
That was funny.
Pastor Henry's like crying over here. There's literal tears
Tears coming
out of his eyes.
Sorry.
But we digress. So when Jesus says, I know your deeds, he's not referring to deeds in terms of deeds that someone is trying to do, some good works that someone's trying to put together in order to be saved. Because we know that we are not saved by works. We know that, right?
Right.
Amen.
However, a Christian should be known for his good works.
Ooh, come on, somebody.
You know, the great reformer Martin Luther once wrote,
Martín Lutero.
we are not made righteous by doing righteous deeds, but when we have been made righteous, we do righteous deeds. You know, and I remind you of the words of James. In James chapter 2:14, he said,
Santiago.
what good is it, my brothers, if a man claims to have faith, but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? Elisha Coles, in her book, A Puritan Golden Treasury, in page 127 in the year 2000 wrote, faith justifies the person and works justify his faith.
Oh, come on, page 127.
And so what Jesus is talking about, he's talking about the deeds that Christians should have as a result of their salvation, is the evidence of their salvation. Jesus himself said in Matthew 5:16,
Mateo.
let your light shine before men that they may see your good deeds and
Praise your Father in heaven.
praise
Hallelujah.
your Father in heaven.
Abba, Father.
So Jesus expects the church to have good deeds.
You have to have good
If a
deeds.
church is going to be countercultural, they have to show some good deeds.
And
Yes.
And if you don't have those good deeds, then
Then you're not being countercultural.
so you're kind of following the stream of life.
Sure. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, because you know the stream.
Swimming downstream.
Yeah, see
As
the
opposed to
stream.
upstream. I got you.
Yeah.
I know what you meant.
You know the stream.
Yeah, I just think our listeners need to hear your deep thought. Like just an explanation. The listeners need to.
We try to help them understand.
Yeah, that
the wealth of information.
that profound word. I understood what you said. Yeah, you were thinking downstream.
No, you know the world's going
Down.
one direction,
Right.
so they're
And-
going this way, right? But being counterculture, we have to be like the salmon,
Right.
That's going
Up-
against
The
current.
Alaskan
Yes.
salmon.
The Alaskan
Alaskan.
one going to the grizzly bear.
Hopefully the grizzly bear don't get him, and they can swim all
Hopefully,
the way up.
hopefully he no get it there. Hopefully he no get it there. But we get it. We got fried chicken.
Pastor Henry. I think he's still thinking of the fried zucchini that we were supposed to order for lunch and did not.
So we digress.
Deeds.
Deeds. And here's the good news. So Jesus says, I know your archan. I know your good deeds.
Your occupation.
So where was I? So my point is this. Jesus knew every good deed that the Ephesian church had done. Nothing escaped him. Nothing at all. And you see this in all of the 7 evaluations of the church. In every letter that he wrote to those 7 churches there in Revelation, he always you could always find that phrase, I know. For instance, to the church of Smyrna, he says, I know your afflictions. To the church of Pergamum, he says, I know where you live. To the church of Thyatira, he says, I know your deeds, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth.
And so forth.
Etc., etc., etc.
So Jesus knows our deeds.
Amen.
But then it says Jesus knows the hard work also of the church.
The hard work.
Now, here's the distinction between deeds, erchan, and hard work. Hard work is the word kopos. Can you say that?
Co-post.
Co-post.
While erga speaks of the work we do, listen, kopos speaks of the attitude by which we do that service. See, there's a difference between doing something or getting something done and doing something right. So anybody can do something good. Anybody can do service, but they can do it with the wrong attitude. And Jesus knows the motivations by which we do our service. That's what he's saying here.
So like anyone could cut a donut, right? Anyone could cut a donut, right? On Sunday.
let me translate this to Pastor Henry's referencing to the point that when people come to Fado Church as they walk in, there are donuts that are served to them, and we cut them up. Our hospitality ministry goes to them and cuts them up. And so what he's referring to is the fact that anyone could go out there and cut a donut. However,
it's the attitude, the way you do
attitude, the way they cut the donut with the effort they place
right,
in it.
and it could be at a 50-degree angle, 45, but just the simple fact of the way you do it, because you do it in a loving way, and the effort that you do behind it to serve others, so that others could have a meal in the morning
to enjoy the donut.
Right. I don't know if the donut it would be a meal,
but it's enjoyable.
But it's enjoyable.
I enjoy it.
I love the glazed donuts.
Now, not to, I don't want to overpower Pastor Henry here, but that word kopos has even a deeper meaning. The word kopos literally means a beating, and that can be translated as labor or toil or hard work. So Jesus is stressing the fact here in the Ephesian church, and he's saying, I know how hard you work. You're working to the point of weariness. And I've found out in my over 10 years of ministry that it takes hard work.
Definitely.
To fulfill the commandment of God, to preach the gospel to people. To be countercultural takes hard work. The natural tendency is to just go with the flow, to not put in the hours, to not put in the prayer, to not do what God has called us to do. That's the easy thing, to just be led astray by the flesh. But God is calling us to work hard in ministry.
And that's difficult to do, because at times it's, you're so consumed with other stuff. It could be nonsense stuff, but it could be stuff that it's important to you. But if it's not focused on Jesus, sometimes you get consumed by it, so that you forget about doing the good things in a good attitude, the way that you should do to serve people in ministry.
Yeah, I know we have having 3 services here. It gets brutal sometimes. There are long hours of doing what we're doing, and just long hours of pouring your heart out, ministering to people. and it's something I encourage the worship team to do. I said, this is what we do. This is our job. This is what we're called to do. And explaining to them that coming third service isn't third service again. It's like, hey, another time where we get to pour out into people, and it's exhausting, and you get like that second wind because you're already tired after second service, but you got another group of people are going to come in who want to hear the word, and you want to lead them into the presence, and it's that second wind, but it's exhausting. And when you're done, but I think that if you don't feel exhausted after you're doing what you're doing, then you haven't put enough into it. Reminds me of my swim coach. My swim coach used to say, if you can get out of the water after practice, you didn't work hard enough. Ooh, so you have to, if you can pick yourself up out of the water when you're done, you didn't work hard enough, he used to tell us. So he used to make us swim more laps. So I take that same thing with ministry. If you're not exhausted after the 3 services, or even after 1 service, and you're not pouring yourself into it, you're not being that counterculture.
Yeah, the natural tendency when it comes to ministry or working for God is to not go beyond a point of weariness or hard work. We can do hard work for everything else, but in the church, no. Yeah. Why? So it's always a serious issue with some people when hard work or service to the church is required. Some people only want to work to the point of comfort, but never to the point of weariness. And here Jesus is saying, I know that you're working to a point of weariness. I think what has infiltrated the church is that doctrine of balance. That we have to live a balanced life. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some organization in your life. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be no structure in your life. But there's this concept of balance that has, with an Eastern thought that has infiltrated the church, in which many Christians use to excuse their lack of service to God. And so they're saying, oh no, I'm called to live a balanced life. Well, I looked through the entire Bible in the words of Jesus, and guess what? He never told us to live a balanced life.
He didn't?
He actually told us to live an unbalanced life.
What?
Jesus was calling us to die to
self,
to carry our cross, to be fully committed to Him, and many times that's gonna require a life that is fully given into some hard work. And the Bible has a lot to say about being lazy or compromising your devotion to God. The Bible declares that we are to live a surrendered life, not a balanced life. It's a dedicated life. It's a life fully yielded to God. And so these Christians in Ephesus, they were certainly not sitting in the couch. They were not couch potatoes. These people were working hard, and in that sense, they were being counter-cultural. And they were not only working hard. The point that Jesus is making here is that they were working with the right attitude. And so Jesus knows their deeds. Jesus knows their hard work. But then to finish off here today, Jesus says that He knows their perseverance. Now, the Greek word for perseverance is hupomona. Can you say that?
Hupomona.
Now, that means to be steadfast in endurance. In other words, to have staying power, remaining power. Literally, the word perseverance means to be able to abide under great pressure. And so Jesus is saying to the church there in Ephesus, man, you have this capacity, this ability to endure pain, to endure suffering, to be able to do, to work, to do ministry, even when it gets difficult.
And that's like you're faced with the challenges of life or challenges of ministry, but you continue to press forward. Like example that we're challenging here in our church is we're looking into signing a new lease for a new facility, a new building, and we have to get that done all within a week because we have service next Sunday and we have midweek service. And so we have to tear down walls, we have to start moving cables, but you have to press upon that pressure or else you're giving up. And you give up not only to the ministry, but to the people, the parishioners that come to listen to the Word of God. And we're here as an example that we can press forward no matter what the challenges or hurdles or the obstacles in life.
That's right. And Jesus emphasizes this characteristic about the Ephesian church in verse 3. He actually describes the kind of perseverance that they have. In verse 3, he says, "You have persevered and have endured hardship for my name and have not grown weary." Now, here's a deep thought. Here's a deep thought. I want to be deeper than Pastor Henry.
That speaks a lot.
Here's the deep thought. Think about this. Think about this. Physical work gets you more tired the more you do physical work. Spiritual work, when done with the right attitude, doesn't get you more tired, but it increases your staying power, your perseverance. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Perfect sense.
So that's why Jesus can say, "You have persevered and have endured hardship for my name and have not grown weary." See, they have good deeds. They're working hard, but they haven't grown weary. Because in the pressure of life, if we rely upon God, guess what? We are relying upon His staying power, His power that He provides to us.
His source.
So that we do not grow weary in doing good. That's why Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So persevere through your circumstances. Don't simply give up easily because some sort of suffering or some problem has come into your life. You know, even C.H. Spurgeon,
C.H. Spurgeon,
he once wrote, "By perseverance, the snail made it to the ark." And so
he found
don't
his
give
way.
up. Don't give up. Continue to focus in God. And work hard for Him. I think that's what we're trying to say here. If a church wants to be countercultural, it has to work hard. It has to have good deeds. And it has to persevere even when difficulties come, which should be expected. You know, I'm reminded of the words of Rick Warren. He said, "God cares more about the building of your character than your comfort." You know, and many times hardships have to come. We have to be under that pressure in order to build some characteristics that are needed in ministry. And sometimes if that pressure is not there, then we'll never learn those characteristics. We'll never have those characteristics. He dicho.
Now, I was once asked, I was sharing about our church and how Fado has grown, and I was asked, "Well, how come your church is growing? How come you're doing this?" I go, "Bro, it's not a secret. Simply this: read your word, live your word, and preach your word."
Now you're trying to be deeper than Pastor Henry too.
And that's speaking a lot.
Read your word. Why? Because that's where we get all the things. I remember in pastoral theology, one of the things they taught us was there was a bunch of testimony by pastors that said, "If the more I have to do, the more I pray." Because I know that if I start the morning off with time with the Lord, then all of a sudden I have more time to do things. But even though it doesn't make sense physically or doesn't human logical sense, it makes sense in the spiritual realm, you know. And so exhausting yourself for the kingdom gives you more strength to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. You know, like sometimes we put in 9 to 9. You know, there 3 days a week we put in 9 to 9 or 9 to 10 sometimes.
We're working
9
to 9, and we watch and we work.
But instead
right?
of going home, yeah, something like that. I remember going home after a job like where I used to work in the secular job, you know, and I used to come home after working from 8 to 6. I come home and I was just exhausted. I didn't want to do anything.
You were poop.
I didn't want to play with my kids. I didn't want to spend time with my family. You know, I just wanted to be alone and rest because I needed rest because I had to go back, you know. Or I didn't want to do more things at church because I was too tired. But now that I'm here at church and I'm working 9 to 9, I go home and I have that energy to play with my kids. It's not because I'm not doing anything. It's because I know I understand the importance of spending that time when I'm with my family. I spend my time with my family. When I'm at church, I spend my time, you know, at church. No matter where I'm at, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And all of a sudden, there's this effort that, you know, there's this extra effort. I don't know where it comes from. You know, it's like in the mornings you get up, let's go, let's do it, let's get to work, let's start working. You go home, oh, let's go home. You know, and everything's exciting, everything's important, everything is at that moment in the Lord. You find the strength.
Physical work creates physical weariness. Spiritual work gives spiritual strength. And that's what Jesus was commending here. Now, have you ever asked yourself, I don't have what it takes? Have you ever said to yourself,
Yes.
I don't have what it takes?
Yes.
No.
Well, I know you don't, since you're so deep.
Since you have it all.
But you know where we find what we need to have what it takes?
In the Lord?
In trials and tribulations, as we persevere through those things. Let me finish with James chapter 1.
Santiago.
Verses 2 and 4. It says this. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. And perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything.
Wow. Pretty deep. Deeper than me today. And that speaks a lot. So we talked about deeds, hard works, and perseverance. Thank you, Pastor Steve. I like that.
You're welcome, Pastor Henry.
That is very, very good. I think that should motivate all of us to continue to move forward. Even if the stream is rolling down, falling down, you are still persevering, moving up the stream, watching a grizzly bear, moving out of his way. And if the snail could do it, so can you.
Go lay the eggs.
Yes.
Go who?
Lay the eggs.
Because that's what
Oh,
the
salmon.
Alaskan fish do. The
Yes.
salmon.
They swim upstream
upstream
to lay the eggs.
Yes.
And then when they birth, they come downstream.
Correct.
Got it.
That's what I was
Yes.
saying. Go lay the eggs.
But you know what happens to the Alaskan salmon afterwards?
It ends up on a plank.
No, they die. After doing all of that sacrifice, they lay it all. They have nothing else to give, and they just die.
But they left a legacy that lives on.
Oh, come on, somebody. And that's for another show.
A different show.
Yes. Well, with that in mind, let's jump into worship with Pastor Ricky Trinidad.